Okay. So we are ready to go. Steve, welcome to Lucky Roo. Man, it's a pleasure to have you here. In special doing the Sylph meta for Nemesis Cup. Man, tell me something about you that we didn't know. Man.
Oh, something that you didn't know. Well, I'm a huge fan of the Lucky Rogue channel. I've
Oh
been
man.
subscribed for so long. It's probably the best channel out there for Sylph content. And
After the PV Steve, after PV
but
Steve,
I'm
we are still a baby, so uh,
I'm really happy to be here. So
man,
looking
you
forward
are
to
a
it.
Sylph legend, man. Already said to you offline, man. Have you here for Nemesis Cup is a pleasure for Team Lucky Who and for all the viewers, man. So Nemesis Cup is the new cup for the next month. We have some mix after some not much love on Obsidian Cup. I don't know if you like it much Obsidian Cup or not. Did you like it
Well,
or?
to be honest, yeah, I wasn't feeling it at first, but then when I got into it, I've ended up performing really well. So I like it because I'm winning most of the time.
Yeah, yeah, winning is important, man. But didn't you feel that Obsidian Cup kind of RPS the cup? Because Escavalier was all over the place. Dragalg also, so most of teams kind of broke to two months, man. Didn't
Yeah, and
didn't you want
Galvanic
to
shot as
open?
well.
Oh yeah. Probably a open more meta would be better, no? Like Nemesis Cup seems to be one more open meta. So
Yeah,
in Nemesis Cup we have a few things. First slot is the fighters. The second slot, for sure, the anti-fighters. We have the bodyguards with bug, dark, fire, grass, ice, psychic, water, and dual types. It must be dual types. Ben, oh my god, shadows are back. Shadows are back, man. So
Woohoo!
I don't know if you like shadow Pokemon, but shadows being around is a big deal for sure.
Yeah, I actually did crunch the numbers a little bit, and it seems a little bit 50-50 whether shadows have been banned or not in sort of the last I don't know how long. So it's good to see them come back a little
Yeah, probably. Scavalier, goodbye. Man, Scavalier will be broken, so yeah, Scavalier is out. Also, monotypes are out. Megas, fairy types, counter users, no, fighting types, poor fighting types, ground, ghosts, normals, and flying. So, we have a more open meta. What do you think about this meta, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly one that takes a little bit to wrap your head around. It's certainly one that's not like the easiest to team build for. You can't just jump into PV poke and put in six Pokemon that seem to mesh together because you have to think a little bit more about those slots, right? Like you've got to
Yeah.
think which fighter am I going to use? How am I going to pair this with an anti-fighter? Because the bans and the allowed types have sort of been built in a way that you need to there's only roles that one of the fighting types can fill and that the anti-fighters can fill, and no one else can really fill that role. You
Yeah.
don't really have any Pokemon in the bodyguard slot that can do the job that the fighting slot can do. So you sort of need to think a little bit harder about how you want to build your team around a little bit. So I think it's going to be one that is more important this month than ever to just get in and practice to get an idea about what you actually like to use.
Yeah, yeah, and probably use something that you already know and know how to use it, because there are some picks on the fighting types that are not so common to be around, like Panguru, Lucario. Chestnut is okay; it had been around, but Flygon is also a glass Excadrill for Great League also. So there is a lot of picks that you need really to know what they do to bring the job done. So in the next one, we have the first slot. We have Obsagoon, Gallade, Lucario, Poliwrath, Panguru, Blaziken, She's Not, Quagsire, Flygon, and Excadrill. Um, over here, do you like any of those picks? Like just looking that will be good for your team, or you will need
Yeah.
to think something like,
See, early on, I was kind of really liking the idea of Excadrill because Excadrill has that, it's got coverage that can not only do the job of the fighters, it has those ground moves that can hit things that fighting types are supposed to hit. Hits the steals, hits the poison darks that are around as well. And it has also got coverage for the flying types. So, for example, a Frostlass, Noctowl. Excadrill has all of this coverage to throw back at it. So Excadrill sort of seems like a really nice Pokemon, but then it's just so weak to all of the other fighting types, all of the other ground users that everyone has to bring at least one of. So you know that your opponent, no matter what they've brought, is going to be able to counter your Excadrill. And in practice, it's been a little bit too squishy for me to love it too much. I'm sort of out shopping at the moment. I'm not too sure who I've settled on to be the best.
yeah.
So I think I've got a little bit more decision to be making after that. But it does seem like at the first sort of first couple tournaments, Poliwrath seemed to be really big, but it seems to have sort of get used a little bit less now.
Yeah, people probably on Gym Breakers in Portugal already know the pick I will lose. So, uh, man, I am so broken for Blaziken, man. I have to use Blaziken wherever is capable to be. And this cup seems, well, perfect for Blaziken again. So yeah, my pick will be probably Blaziken and do a team around Blaziken because man, I just love Blaziken so much. And like you said, Excadrill, yeah, it seems okay, but kind of squishy also. And people get used to counter Poliwrath also. So yeah, probably I will be spicy and go Blaziken all the way. And the next,
Have you got Stone Edge on your Blaziken?
no, Blaziken pure fire, man,
Double
blast burn
fire.
and blast kick all the way.
All right.
I would have Stone Edge because yeah, the coverage is way better because having pure fire is not the best way. But yeah, man, I just love to blast burn something on the way, man. I just love it. So on the second slot, we have some picks that already most people already use this year on Sylph, like Gorgais, Noctowl. Do you have any preference on this slot already? Something that you would like to share?
Yeah, well, I think whenever Frostlass is eligible in a Silpharina meta, everyone sort of goes, I wonder if Frostlass might be good. And I think that this is a meta that it is definitely pretty decent. It's, obviously got Shadow Ball, which is a big nuky move. It's got Avalanche, which has the same type attack bonus and just does an absolutely load of damage. Comes out a little bit quicker than Shadow Ball as well. And it sort of has really good coverage against almost all of the other anti-fighting type Pokemon, as well as having decent matchups against the fighting type Pokemon. Blaziken is probably a bit of a exception to the rule on that front. Blaziken definitely does a pretty good job up against Frostlass, but I think that Frostlass has a lot of play. But it sort of seems, and I am sort of watching how these early tournaments, how people are putting their teams in, and it seems like it's getting a little bit more. People are trying to counter Frostlass specifically, so I think that it's being pushed out of favor a little bit. And I'm actually seeing a lot of people use Noctowl, which I guess is
Okay.
just a really bulky Pokemon, which is definitely nice to sort of. It's always good to have bulk in your team, right?
Yeah. And Noctowl, after getting Shadow Ball, yeah, uh, Shadow Ball hurts. So yeah. Also, you have Jumpluff. So Jumpluff, it seems okay. Also, kind of loose to Noctowl and Frostless, since he's grass type. But Jumpluff seems also a good pick for this meta. And Duden, why not Duden?
Yeah.
Duden is a cute Pokemon, man. So we now have the meta with all the picks, like we talked before. We also make the graphic about the wins and loss on the next one. We are not going to talk about all this, but is for coverage on the video. We make this graphic for 4K losses, wins also, but this also depends on the energy because anything you get energy advantage or shield advantage could flip the match. So uh, it's pretty solid that nothing of this is like straight. So in the next one, I think we have yeah the second slot, also the wins and the losses. And now we have the broken meta, like we already talked, the fighting types. You already told me about the Poliwrath and also only the Poliwrath on the fighters you talked me about, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Gallade definitely looks pretty nice as well, though, with that sort of acting a little bit like an anti-fighter because it sort of beats almost everyone else with just confusion damage alone.
yeah.
It's,
And you also have Obstagoon. Most people already know Obstagoon pretty well, also. So probably also Obstagoon will be a good pick also. Since it have a good coverage, okay, it loses to the fighting types like Blaziken and Lucario, but still does the job. So you have also Chestnut. I never used Chestnut, so I'm not really sure if it's a good pick or not. Probably you know it better than me. So
I used it in a meta a couple months ago, and it's okay. It's certainly got use cases, but I think that in this meta where there's so much big damage coming from everything, there's so many big hard hitting moves around, like that you can see a Shadow Ball from Lucario
yeah,
or these avalanches from Frostas. I think that it's probably a little bit too squishy for this meta. I
yeah,
think.
yeah, yeah. Probably. It's still no time to shine for sure. We have also the Pseudo Fighters like Quagsire, Flygon, and the Excadrill, like you talked before. What do you think about Quagsire in this meta? It's kind of bulky. Have Earthquake and think.
Yeah, Stone Edge again, it's sort of really nice to have that, not only the Earthquake to do that sort of normal fighting job, but also the Stone Edge to hit back against the flying types, the ice types, fire types even that might be around. It's sort of interesting. I think that Quagsire is probably a little bit too slow for my liking. I think that because you can only bring one fighter into your team, using that slot on Quagsire sort of means that that's your only fighting coverage, and to do those big hits against the Poison Darks, against the Steel types that might be around, you need to get all the way up to an Earthquake to be
Yeah,
able to throw a big move against it. So, I mean, I'm not sure. It's certainly very early days, so it could turn out that Quagsire is the super pick. Maybe something really spicy like an acid spray Quagsire does amazing. But I'm cautious. I'm
yeah.
I'm gonna wait for someone to tell me that Quagsire is really good before I believe that it's really good.
Yeah, yeah, and doesn't have like a move that is okay on this meta, like the other fighting types you have on this
Yeah.
slot. Like Flygon have Dragon Claw, on Edge or Power. It's kind of squishy, okay, but does big damage. So and they have a bait move that is important for energy. So yeah, and Quagsire is kind of slow. Well, maybe in the middle of this month, Quagsire will be the star, and we need to remake this video. So why not? Why not?
Look,
Now,
if Quagsire turns out to be good later, pretend I didn't say anything.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just ignore me
We
entirely.
will edit the video later, so we'll be okay. We will put Quagsire like the star of this video, so it's okay. So we now add the second lot with the anti fighters. We already talked about Frostos, like you said. Frostos is a monster with energy. Oh my god! Avalanche over air, Shadow Ball. Dodini had been a surprise. It's cute, but also spammy. Noctowl is a safe pick, also Jumpluff, but we also have Charizard, Gyarados, Galarian Ponyta. What do you think about those picks? Any of those have room to be anti-fighter?
Yeah, I'm actually really interested by Galarian Rapidash because there's not very many Pokemon that are around with the fairy typing. I mean, I think it's quite literally only Galarian Rapidash and Mawile who are eligible for this cup that have the fairy typing. And Mawile has the steel typing as well, so
Yeah.
counter the big fighting types that are around and sort of able to do neutral damage back to Mawile. Whereas Galarian Rapidash is just, Psychic Fairy, pure resisting all of that fighting damage, and it's really spammy as well with Psycho Cut charging really fast and Body Slam spam just coming out the wazoo, just shooting all over the place. And there's not really anything that loves getting hit by Body Slam. There's a couple of steals around, Excadrill, for example, but I mean, something like Excadrill is so squishy that a Body Slam still does a decent amount of damage. But I think it's sort of it could be very interesting, and I'm kind of hoping that we might see a little bit more Galarian Rapidash play. I think that not very many people would have it built,
Yeah.
which could mean that it's a new investment, it's a new Pokemon to learn for a lot of people. But people who are sort of used to it, I think that it could be an interesting option to maybe bring onto your team.
Yeah, yeah. It seems a pretty solid pick, like you said. I don't have one, so I am not used to use it. Like probably most of people don't have it to use it because in the most cups, uh, I don't think I ever even saw one or battle one. So yeah, I know it has body slam and mega horn, I think, but I have no clue how much time it charges a mega horn or a body slam. Man, I don't have any clue.
it,
Any.
it it's quick. If you see one, be scared.
Okay, okay. So that part will be on the video. So now we have the bodyguards picks that we put there. We have more electric types, also a few more psychic types, and the fires. Um, do you like any of those picks? There are any that show off for you? What do you think? It's important to have a fire type on the team besides Blaziken on mine.
Yeah, I think if you've already got a Blaziken, you can probably ignore bringing another fire type on. But I think that all these roles, sort of, the bodyguard slots are mainly to sort of, they're they're a little bit of the meat, the potatoes that are filling up your meal a little bit. That's like the psychic types are a really powerful type and one that probably everyone should have something that can do something like that on. Just because psychic is a really good type against those fighting types. Obviously, there's things like Obstagoon that have the dark typing that make it a little bit more tricky, but something like Bronzong with the big confusion damage, something like Galarian Rapidash with that Psycho Cut coming on hot and heavy. Even Malamar, who is another. I mean, Malamar's just another interesting. I mean, actually, I did say before that there's no other Pokemon that can really do the fighter job, but Malamar gets a little bit close by having
Yeah.
superpower. Uh, but still, it's pretty squishy and it loses to a lot of other fighting types and whatnot. But anyway, regardless, I think that Psychic is a really good typing. Also, things that are around, like there's going to be a fair few poison types around. Obviously, not on the graphic yet. Gengar
Yeah.
is technically here, but I think that it's a good typing. Electric is a little bit of a. It's sort of important as well because there are a lot of fighting roles. There are a lot of water types that are running around, like Poliwrath,
Yeah.
and it's sort of very useful to have that electric damage. I personally am thinking either Lantern for that extra bulk or Galvantula for just that hard hitting. I mean, I've used Galvantula all month in Obsidian Cup, but it's a really good Pokemon, and even if you're in a losing matchup, you can still get a lunge or two off and reduce their attack for your next Pokemon.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Galvantula really seems a good pick for sure. On the fire types, we also have Macargo. Also, now we have the show of the ice types. So in the ice types, what do you think about these ones? We have Empoleon back also. Could be a good
Yep,
pick with the
sneaking
waterfall
in there.
damage.
Yeah, I mean, Empoleon is actually interesting because it has that steel typing as well. And with steel not being around too much, it's not specifically allowed, but not specifically banned. So you can only bring in steel types if they are that secondary typing. Empoleon is going to resist a lot of that fairy stuff. So it's sort of nice to have. It's pretty spammy as well. It's got that drill peck that can really sort of hit those fighters back. So even though you've got like a counter user up against a steel type, you have to be really scared of Drill Peck. So it's actually a really dangerous Pokemon. And Waterfall doing a lot of damage to all of the Blazekins that are around as well.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think Ice is a strange typing because it's almost always Ice Water. I mean, 3 out of the 6 there are, Lapras, Walrein,
Yeah.
Dugong, all have that Water Ice typing that is sort of, it becomes a little bit dangerous when you've got the fighting types running around and you don't inherently have something that can do a lot of big damage back. I mean, something like Walrein does have access to Earthquake, which can definitely hit Pokemon like Lucario, like Glade for a lot of damage, but it does take a lot of time to get there, and I think you're probably just going to end up spamming Icicle Spears before you go down. So I think that they're definitely a useful typing. I'm cautious about.
Okay.
I'm not going to say that every team needs an ice type, for
Yeah,
example,
yeah.
but it could definitely help to sort of fill out your team if you need a little bit more anti-fighter coverage, flying coverage, that sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah. It seems good. Now we have the next slot, the grass types. Uh, what do you think about these ones? We have Ferroton with the steel type also. Uh, Roserade with the spammy weather ball. The old and good Venusaur. The Shiftry that, man, Shiftry is a legend. For me and for Red of this channel, Shiftry is a legend. But on this cup, probably not even on the team. So, and also Cradily. There is any grass type that you want to talk about, for example?
Grass type is interesting because it's always good. It's always able to do a lot of stuff. Something like Venusaur is able to put on a lot of neutral damage to a lot of Pokemon. Frenzy Plant, really good move, as we all know.
Yeah.
But I sort of don't know exactly how they fit into this meta a little bit. There's certainly stuff they hit. There's certainly stuff they lose to. It feels like a lot of the practice that I've done using grass types has been a little bit they work a little bit RPS in my mind. You sort of need to get them into a spot that they're going to be good, or a spot that they're going to lose really bad against something like a Noctowl, or a fire types. So I sort of they've certainly got play, and something like Credilli can always appear and do a lot of damage because people really underestimate how spammy
Yeah.
Credilli is. I mean, Bullet Seed charging up those grass knots to Stone Edges, it's like 4 Bullet Seeds to a Stone Edge or something like that, and it's just really wild and can do a lot of damage. So, plus with its rock typing, it actually resists a lot of things that sort of people don't expect from a grass type. So I think Credilli's got a pretty good shot. I mean, Ferrothorn definitely, as you said, that steel typing really does help it out. And with access to Thunder, again, it also has that play against the flying types. You've got Thunder throw against Noctowl, while Noctowl is throwing flying moves at your steel typing. You do
Yeah.
have the grass as well, but the steel typing really helps soak it up a little bit more. So I think that Ferrothorn is probably the most likely to get the most use from that grass slot. But I wouldn't sleep on Credilli too early.
Yeah, yeah. And you have Shadow Credilli also. So if you want to big damage, man, Shadow Credilli all the way. But yeah, Ferroton seems a safe pick in this early meta guide. But Ferroton seems kind of safe because the steel type. In the next slot, we have now is loading. We need to okay, the
Ah.
the bug types. So, uh, bug types are here to counter the darks and also the grass. Probably not the most used type, but probably are going to see Ariadne because most people have Ariadne for JBL. So probably Ariadne will be all around. What do you think about the bug types, Steve?
Yeah, the thing about bug types is that they're one of the only typings that's around that is resisting that counter damage. So things like Lucario, for example, aren't going to be doing as much damage as they would be to other things. But as I sort of look at the fighting slot, there isn't actually that many counter users. Like, Poliwrath isn't using counter, Chestnut not using counter, Glade, Pangoro not using counter. You're sort of just left with Blaziken, Lucario, and Obstagoon as the 3 counter users. Now, I think Lucario is actually ranked number 1 on PvPoke at the moment, although I think that's a little bit of a simulation magic with always being able to get the power up punch baits and the shadow balls landing. But I think that may not be useful as I first thought when coming into this meta, uh, just because there isn't that much fighting damage running around. But they're still definitely really powerful types, and as you said, they're really good counters to the dark types as well, which the dark types are going to be running around in some capacity. Maybe, I mean, I've been using Fortress this month, although it is a little bit slow. But again, you've got that access to Earthquake, which having access to Earthquake just always makes you a viable Pokemon. Like you can definitely use it as long as you've sort of got your shields in the right spot. Maybe it depends a little bit about where you land your Pokemon in the matchup. But other than that, I think Beedrill is probably the most likely to get a lot of use because Beedrill has access to that drill run and gets it off pretty fast. Has a little bit of a lot of options for its other charge moves. So I think a lot of people go for Fell Stinger just to boost your attack a little bit, but other people go for Sludge Bomb to try and get that big damage through if they can. But drill run is sort of the bread and butter just to really do well against all of those electric types that are running around. Again, the steels, the poison darks, sort of again feeling a little bit of that fighting type slot. I think it was a year ago, but I remember fitting Beedrill into the fighting slot of a certain meta infographic that I did, whatever meta that may have been, because Beedrill sort of does work a little bit like a pseudo fighter. So
Yeah.
it's definitely an interesting one. Um, I'm sort of curious to see. I think there are going to be a bit of a bug presence as we sort of go through this month.
Yeah, probably. And most people already have built a Beedrill or a Yard, so probably people with low dust will see Beedrill like a safe pick. So in the next one we have the poisons, like you said before, Drapion and Skuntank and Alolan Muk. So in this slot, it's kind of hard to choose one for sure. Because
Yeah,
man,
they all sort of work the same, right? Like these three Pokemon, Skuntank, Alolan Muck, and Drapion, have always, from the beginning, been a little bit interchangeable. It's like, oh, I need a Poison Dark, I'm going to pick one of them. Ever since like Twilight Cup back in February 2019, they've been being used. So they're very interesting. Now I feel like this whole video I've been talking about things that are beating the Poison Darks as if that's a thing, but
yeah.
I don't think I've actually said anything about them being good. But
But yeah, they are.
but they are good. They are good. They really spare me. They're able to get the moves off. Lol and Muck, especially with Snarls, just gets those Dark Pulses and Sludge Waves so fast. You've got the potential for that Acid Spray debuff if you really want to go for it. And definitely sort of acts as those counters to the Ghost types that are around, like Frostlass, like Gengar, like Gorgeist, as well as the Psychic types like Bronzong, Gallade as well. So they're definitely very good Pokemon, and they're able to do a lot of damage to pretty much everything. There's not really any Pokemon I can think of in this meta that won't care that they're up against an Alolan Mark. It's sort of a hard Pokemon to hard counter,
Yeah.
if you get what I mean. But
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
Probably the counter will be something like Quagsire that we already said that probably most people don't even will choose for the first slot because they need a pseudo fighter, and also like Excadrill that is also on the first slot. So yeah, Alone Muk seems kind of safe. Also Drapion
yeah.
or Skuntank, the old Skuntank also with Flamethrower. Uh, Probably could be a problem for most teams that we are talking about in this meta guide. But there is also another problem that will show up now. That is the Dragon Breath third users. We also have Charizard, could have Dragon Breath, but Kindra and Zuelos. Uh, man, this meta is so crazy.
Oh, look, we all know how dragons work, right? They just do so much big damage. They just dragon breath everything. They keep just tearing through things. They tear through your shields. There's nothing that loves to be up against a dragon type except fairies, which again, there is not much fairy
Yeah.
going around in this meta. Dedenne. I didn't mention Dedenne before. There are
Yeah.
3 fairies, I think, um, in this meta. So it's a hard thing to come by, stuff that is going to resist the dragon breath damage. So it's really a case of, I think, a lot of people are going to bring at least one dragon, which I guess does give a little bit more use case to the ice types, maybe as that sort
Yeah.
of counter to the dragon types. But maybe that's getting too into RPS sort of territory and getting scary. But I think that dragons are always going to be good as long as the meta isn't filled with counters to them.
Yeah,
Dragons
yeah.
are going to be everywhere, and
And
this
probably
month isn't going to be any different.
Kindra will be the start of the dragons, because as well as have the problem with the counter users and the bug types, and Kindra doesn't have that. So yeah, probably Kindra. Man, I just love Kindra also. So yeah, Blaziken and Kindra on the same team, man. I am already in love for this cup, and I could probably lose like 10, 20 matches, but it's okay. It's okay. It's for the fun. Um so, Steve, you already talked about the meta. Is there anything you want to add to this meta guide? Uh, if you want, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think that again, I said it at the very start of the video, but I think that one of the most important things this month is going to be that you just need to get some practice in with your team, find out what sort of Pokemon, what sort of combinations work for you, your playstyle. I think that this meta in particular is going to be really hard if you if you go, oh, what team has Dunebug used this month? I'll grab Dunebug's team and just throw it into my tournament. I think that that's going to cause some struggles. Get practice as early as you can, as much as you can before your tournaments start, just so you're pretty happy, pretty comfortable
Yeah.
with your team and how it's going to work up against all of the other teams that are around.
Yeah, yeah. Seems the best advice for this method for sure. Man, Steve, one time, thank you a lot for being here. Man, was a pleasure to have you here for me and for our the lucky team members, and for sure for the viewers also. So, like always, you do the honors to say goodbye and to add something like you want to say to everyone. And man, once again, was a pleasure. Uh, Thank you a lot for your time to be around us to make this meta possible. So, PV Steve, the channel is all yours. Go, go for it, man. Go for it.
Uh, Well, I really do appreciate the invite to come on here. It was definitely a lot of fun. We were matched up in the Obsidian Cup. For those who weren't aware, so it was definitely a lot of fun there. But seriously, thanks to everyone who has sort of come and watched this through. Again, this is an awesome graphic. This one of these directions. This is an awesome graphic. But it's definitely something to study a little bit, get into your head a little bit. But yeah, if you do want more content like this, hit that subscribe button down below because it's going to keep coming out month after month.
Yeah.
And hit the like button as well, because hey, YouTube algorithm and all that. But yeah, seriously, thanks for having me on. Thanks to the lucky fam for having me in. It's been a lot of fun. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, especially that subscribe one, and see you in the next one.